Hi Dave, it's so good to have you over here at the APR Festival.
Oh, look, I'm peeking about it. It's been fantastic.
We're stoked to have you over, and you've had your fair share of adventure on the Scram in the mountains,
Yes.
in the Himalayas.
Yes. The first time I went through the Himalayas was riding from London to Sydney on bikes. But, that was the first time I'd been in serious altitude with fesh, 2 and 3 feet deep, at 14,000 feet. And the toughness, the altitude was kind of overbearing sometimes.
Right.
And you had to be really conscious of that. So, it was just a physical thing, but the actual beauty, the colours in the mountains were just amazing.
Stunning as it is.
It affected me spiritually and physically, and just kind of reshaped my perception of life. It was that strong.
I'm sure the mountains have some influence on us every time you ride in the mountains.
Yes.
And that really brings me to the next question, which is, from my experience in the mountains, from my experience in the Himalayas, the only constant in the mountains is change.
Yes.
Right? So you've been there thrice now. What have the changes you've noticed while riding up in the Himalayas?
Okay,
over
so
the
there's a couple. In the short term stuff, it's managing your temperature, your body temperature, because fatigue is the thing that's going to injure you.
Right.
Right, if you're too hot or too cold. So the first thing is to regulate your body temperature, and that means making sure as soon as you start getting cold, making sure you get more layers on and making sure you just regulate that. So that's the first thing. The next one is regulating your water, how much fluid intake you've got.
Right.
So they're the physical things, and if you don't do those well, and you don't have a self-awareness, like you have to have a heightened self-awareness,
Yes.
because the Himalayas will punish you if you don't take this with reverence.
Yes.
I think that's the thing, because the climate changes so quick, and you'll see a cloud one moment, it'll be a small little cloud, and then the next minute this rolling thing's coming in, and then you've got a dump of snow on you.
Yes.
The change is enormous.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then there's the longer term stuff of talking to the villagers, and how over the years now they've gradually moved up the mountain because they need the snow to grow their potatoes.
Yes.
And the movement of the snow up through climate change is amazing. And so there's constant change in short term, in medium and long term.
Right.
But you always walk away with a prize, and that is you feel so good after being there.
Absolutely. And Dave, I'm sure, with age comes its own challenges of going out
Yeah.
there in the mountains.
Yeah.
So how is it that you get prepared for the mountains, for the Himalayas?
Okay, so the most important thing is to respect altitude. Many people get sick, and if you're in a high place and you get sick, somehow you've got to get down, and weather may prevent you getting down, so you need to be prepared. And we prepare by a couple of different ways. We try to prepare for altitude naturally by going to a higher point, then dropping back down during the night, during the day, higher, lower, as much as we can.
Right.
But we always have a backup of Diamox
Yes.
that takes the edge off it if needed.
And was there any amount of physical fitness?
Well,
that
it's funny,
worked on? Yeah.
I'm fat but fit. Yeah, as I'm 63,
Right.
so I'm actually a pensioner.
Right.
But the thrill of motorcycling, I think, keeps me young, and I love what I do.
Right.
And so there's not that much preparation. Like I've been riding for many years, so my muscle memory and coordination and riding and understanding many different bikes.
Right.
So not too much preparation. It's more planning. I know that sounds boring, but it's actually planning and making sure you're protected. And when you're there, trying to go up and down.
Right. So Dave, really, also we have motorcycles. Our motorcycles have been riding in the mountains forever, right?
Yep.
Since the era of the bullets, and
Yes.
then
Yep.
we moved on to the Himalayans, and then we had the Scram, and you ended up riding the Scram. What was your experience on the Scram in the Himalayas?
It's one of a surprise. That'd be the best way to describe it, because
Right.
we didn't know what a Scram was.
Right.
I had no idea. We thought, what's a scram? We thought we were riding Himalayans.
Himalayan.
We didn't know what a scram was.
Right.
We thought we were riding Himalayans. And so we got together, the three of us. Have you ridden a scram? No. Do you know what they look like? No. We better go and see what this is. Will it be up to the task of what we want? Because you'll recall we had said that we wanted a tough trip. We wanted to go places where no one had been.
Right.
So when we went down to a local shop and we brought our soft luggage with us and we walked around the bike and looked at it, and the first thing I think Nos said is it's beefy, as in not in a derogatory way, but in a way it's strong, it's well built, and it had a good engine, and we kind of knew about the engine, and we sat on it. Oh, it's comfortable. And then we put our luggage on it. We had room for our luggage, and we just went, that's going to do the job. So the next thing, we're in Kathmandu picking the bikes up. What absolutely blew our minds at the end of the trip was they didn't miss a beat, right? So all four of them had been absolutely flogged senseless, and you can see in the Nepal Scram video, there's lots of instances there where the bikes are taken way beyond their design limits. And we finished the trip, and all four bikes rode back to the store from whence we came in Kathmandu.
Right.
And none of them had missed a beat. It was just such a positive experience.
That's beautiful, and actually touching about positive experiences, there is always an influence that the mountains or the Himalayas leaves on you when you come
Yes.
back.
Yeah.
I think there is more of there's a personal journey every time you go to the Himalayas. Okay, so now you've been in the Himalayas.
Yes.
You've ridden a motorcycle before the Himalayan was launched.
Yes.
And now we've got the all-new Himalayan out here in
Yes.
the market.
Yeah.
And you've got a taste of it, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I've actually tested it, and I've
Right.
ridden it quite a lot in Australia.
Right.
And I'd ridden the previous one, and the difference between them, there's this quantum leap, not only in power, suspension, handling, but in terms of quality. It's just an amazing leap to do in one step. I mean, I couldn't get over the leap. Normally, bike manufacturers do incremental steps.
Yes.
And this wasn't evolution, this was revolution. There's an awakening, if you like, of the smaller capacity motorcycles.
Right.
And I believe that's happening worldwide, but I can only observe from what I'm seeing in Australia, and it's on. That people are going, well, I don't need a big heavy thing
Right.
to have fun and explore. And you could see that by the amount of people queued up over here to
Over
ride.
here for the test ride.
And if you
yes.
noticed, the queue for off-road to on-road, the queue for off-road was 4 times longer than the queue
Here
for
on
on-road.
road, absolutely. I mean, they've been here since about 6:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Just queuing up,
Yeah.
or even earlier maybe. But it's been quite overwhelming to see all of that happen. But a little bit more on the motorcycle.
Yes,
When
yeah.
we designed it, we said it was everything that you need and
Yeah.
nothing you don't.
Yes.
We evolved the motorcycle for today's adventure needs, right?
Yes.
Without there being a lot of cognitive overload.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that something that you would relate to?
Oh,
Do you
definitely.
think more bells and whistles would have helped? What is it?
The thing is, it's funny, to make things simple, you've got to think complex and have sympathy for riders. And that's where the Himalayan has been successful. The traction control and ABS, the way that switches on and off,
Right.
is one of the most efficient systems out there. And I'm talking, the premium level bikes at $25,000, triple the price of this.
Right.
That's thought out. But you know what? It's the basics things. The brakes are beautiful. The rear brake is amazingly responsive
Right.
to even the slightest movements. The front brake is powerful. Front suspension is excellent. The engine, a truckload more power than before. The carrying capacity of it. Tomorrow, if I had to ride something around the world tomorrow, you just got to take it out of the showroom and ride it. What would you pick? And I picked that.
That's perfect.
And
yeah.
that's the reality of it. It's there now. You know, I could ride from Sydney to Mount Everest on that tomorrow. I wouldn't, just straight out of the showroom floor.
I think that's what that was what our aim was, for it to be the ultimate globetrotter
Yeah.
while we were building it.
I
And
think you've achieved that.
if you had to ride the Himalayan in Australia, right,
Yep.
where would your first expedition be to?
It'd be something decent. It may be the length of the Great Dividing Range.
Right.
It may be the Flinders Ranges, which
Right.
are beautiful.
Right.
And I'd ride it across the top end and into Kakadu and right across the top in the tropics there. It'd do that easily.
So Dave, I think honestly speaking, it's been such a pleasure catching up with you here.
Yeah.
Actually putting a face to your name and catching you over here at the festival has been very overwhelming.
Yeah.
We're absolutely stoked.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, we can't wait to see you at Motorverse.
Oh, I
in
can't wait to
India.
get to Motorverse.
Right.
Yeah.
And also more importantly, we can't wait to have you back in the Himalayas out
Yes,
there.
yeah, that'll be
Right.
great.
So we've got a motorcycle with your name on it. But thank you so much for
No,
your time.
thank you, mate.
It's a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.